Good evening, everybody. Super thankful that you are spending this evening with us today. Super nice out. Many of other things that you probably wish that you were doing. However, this is really important, especially if you're serious about getting your business started. We're going to cover some skills tonight that you're going to use for the duration that you are in business or pursuing business or participating in entrepreneurship. So we'll have fun tonight. Just everyone aware that everybody checks their egos as soon as they enter this Zoom room. Everybody's good enough to be here, and no one is too good to be here. So this is a safe zone, and we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable making themselves vulnerable, asking questions, asking for feedback. We're here to help you improve and help you get better. With that, my name is Tim Ryan, and I have been part of Start Peninsula for the past 10 years. This is year number 10. This is in preparation for micro pitch number 2. This is pitch perfect number 2 in preparation for that. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to break down what the 3-minute pitch is all about, what the judges are going to be looking for. There are no secrets. Because this is about being successful in business. This is not teaching you how to be successful for a pitch competition and then never have to use those skills ever again. This is the answers for successful business. So we'll talk about that. I've been working with early stage startups and small businesses for the past 10 years. I started once I finished my MBA from William and Mary. Started up a regional business incubator for Greater Williamsburg. That is now under operation by William and Mary. So that was something that I'm proud of. I mean, William and Mary essentially acquired that incubator. That incubator has gone on, at least some of the companies that I assisted with have raised over $50 million in funding and are doing really well. I also am an angel investor that has invested in more than 20 companies, so I can help you from the range of getting your business off the ground, validating your business idea, to what investors are looking for, because I know what it's like to write checks, and I know what I'm looking for and what others are looking for. And with that, I would like to introduce Gary Plaag. Gary and I have been running this program together for the last several years as well. And Gary brings a really cool piece. I bring the business side. Gary brings the communication side. And I'll turn it over to Gary. You can do a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. And thanks, Tim. Yeah, Tim and I have been working together since probably 2016 or so. We've known each other and having a chance to do this, which is pretty cool. So my experience is that in 1997, I quit corporate America and started my own business wherein there was no help. And so I learned the hard way, and I'm eager to help people not have to do what I did and struggle through like that. So my business is a communication consulting business. Again, I started in 98, went back to school in 2001. Began in the winter of 2002, finished in 2004, got a master's in communication at George Mason University in Northern Virginia. I have an undergrad from William and Mary and from many years ago, and then just moved on to helping folks. And so the business I have just coaches people, executive coaching, communication coaching, presentation skills coaching, that kind of stuff. And so Tim and I fit pretty well together because we can help with the folks that are going to be pitching so that they know what to do and how to do it. And the one, as Tim said earlier, the ones that do it, that go through the training process, they're much more successful at the pitch, not just the Start Peninsula pitching, but as they move forward anyway. Telling their story becomes a lot easier. So that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, and historically speaking, as long as we have been doing this, 7 out of 7, or yeah, let me get this right. 7 out of 10 finalists go through Pitch Perfect, and 2 out of 3 of the people that win go through Pitch Perfect. So we know what we're doing. Pay attention. And this is to help you. This is being recorded so that you can refer back to it later. We'll also post it to the Start Peninsula Start Peninsula website so that you can access it there. But with that said, I'm going to share my screen and we will jump on in. This is always the hardest part of the night for me.
Tim has 18 screens in his office, so he has to.
I never know where I'm supposed to be.
It's like the stock exchange. Oh, am I not under 18 or 16? I don't know.
And Gary, please make sure that, am I showing the right screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. I want to make sure I was not in showing you all presenter mode. All right, so like I said, we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about the 3-minute pitch. So we'll break this up into two elements. First element of this night will be the elements of the pitch, and then we'll break up the second half to talk about, or we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions, practice your pitch, and we'll give you some feedback. So for the purpose of this, we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock, and then this will mimic Start Peninsula. We'll put 3 minutes on the clock. I'm typically the timer, and you have 3 minutes to speak. And we would always do this before pre-COVID. You would have your panel of judges. They're kind of blended in now in terms of the Zoom screen, but we will have judges. We spend a lot of time on those judges because we want to make sure that those judges have a background in angel investing, venture capital. They understand what it is to invest in companies, what questions to ask. They have in-depth background of business. So we spend a lot of time with those judges. But you're going to look out to them, and we want to ensure that you avoid breaking down, crashing, and burning. We've seen that unfortunately happen several times, but you are here tonight or you're listening to the recording, so you are going to avoid that from happening, and you are going to shine. So what we're going to do a lot of times, people will just, they listen to a 3-minute pitch and they're like, oh, that's super easy. What could be so difficult about it? And then they start talking and they totally have no idea. They have zero concept of time when it comes down to talking. And then, share a little secret here, but Gary and I will usually just send a little note over private chat with one another saying this person's never going to finish their pitch in time because they're 2 minutes in and they haven't even defined what the problem is yet. But this is a way to break everything down, to make everything just bite-sized chunks of all the information that you need in order to be successful. So let's break down that 3 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with that attention getter. It can be a fact of some kind. One of the things that I would certainly throw in there within the first 3 seconds is summing up what your product does, just to get that dopamine flowing so that people can just get in the right mindset. But you want to get that attention getter out so that you want people to start paying attention. The next thing that we're going to do is, this is where you identify your problem or the opportunity that you are addressing. So take 50 seconds to do that. And for the purpose of tonight, and in the purpose of while you're coming up with your pitch, we recommend grab a piece of paper, grab a pen or a pencil, and then just simply start writing out sentences. The problem that I'm solving is, and then just write a few sentences. And you'll be amazed at how quickly 50 seconds goes. So when it comes time to practicing towards the end of tonight, what you can do is you can just read the things that you have written down, and then you can get a feel for what 3 minutes feels like and what needs to be included, what needs to be taken out. So you talk about that problem and opportunity for 50 seconds. Then you can get into your solution for another 50 seconds. At that point, you're doing everything really, really well. And now this is when you take that 5 seconds and you share your name. And Gary will get into this, but really to sum everything up, no one's going to care what your name is until you give them a reason to want to know your name. So at this point, they're going to be so blown away by the problem that you've identified and the solution you have towards your problem that they want to know who you are because they want to continue that conversation with you. Then once you've done that, now you can take 50 seconds and you can talk about your target market. Who are you addressing? Who is going to be the one buying your product? Who are you going to continue to try to talk to? Take 50 seconds to do that. And next thing you know, I mean, at that point, we're rounding third base. We're on our way home. We only have 15 seconds left. And you're going to want to close that out. And what you're going to want to include there is what you need in order to be successful. And you really have to look at this like it's a movie trailer. You want to make them want more. This is not designed to close the deal in 3 minutes. You're not going to get someone to write a check in 3 minutes. You're going to want them want more and to get that second meeting. But when you total everything up, that's your 3 minutes. And you will quickly see that there is not a lot of time to address everything that needs to be addressed within that 3 minute time constraint. As I said, I'm the guy with the timer, and Gary and myself will cut you off because we need to make everything fair across the board. So that's your 3 minutes. Is there anything that you want to add to that, Gary?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. We'll get into more detail as we go.
Sweet. All right. So what we're going to do now is now that we have that outlined, we're going to talk about some things that you want that you should consider and how we break down these categories within your pitch. And the first thing that we want to talk about is about the idea and the innovation behind what it is that you're doing. So the first thing to start is really, this is, and Gary, this is a new addition to the slide. This is based on feedback that we've received. I mean, we say that it's what is the problem, define the problem. But again, what is the problem that you're solving? You have to make sure that you're explaining this in a way that the judges don't know who you are. They don't know what your product is. They don't know what you're trying to say. So what you're trying to do, they need to understand what it is that you're doing within that three minute period. Again, this is the movie trailer, and they need to kind of understand what's going on here. With that said, the easiest way to do that is through a use case. It's through storytelling. I mean, it's a way that you're going to be able to remember everything. So think about if Tommy or whoever, Sally, experiences your product or your company, walk them through how that process works. And it needs to be said in a way that is easy to digest, easy to understand, and something that is going to be memorable. Because they're listening to, this is rapid fire pitching. There's not a lot of time in between, and you need to make sure that they understand. And a lot of people, that's where a lot of people miss out when it comes to a competition like this. But is the problem big enough? You don't want to pick something that is so small that if you get up there and you're selling violins string oil, I mean, the number of people that need oil for their violin strings is going to be very, very small. Interestingly enough, I just heard someone do a pitch, a demo for their product, and what they do is that they recycle. They figured out how to recycle water through urine on the space station. And it's really, really cool. It's super, super technical. The largest budget item that the space station has is water. But the problem with that business was there's not many toilets in space. So that was not a viable business for them to be in. So they had to figure something out. So that's what we mean by, is that problem big enough? You need to make sure that there is an audience, that your total addressable market is large enough that this is going to be a business that's worth investing in. The other thing that you're going to talk about is how you differentiate yourself. How are you doing things different than your competition? And this is not done in a way that you're talking negative about your competition. You want to be respectful. The last thing you want to do is say that you're a company that's going to take on Google or Facebook or someone that has pockets that are so deep that they could outspend you in a hot second. I mean, this is a way to really show how you do it. How do you do this different? How much better is your solution? And you can do that in a respectful way, because the last thing that you want to do is have judges or investors or anybody that you're pitching to start thinking, there's no way this person can do it, because now all they're going to be thinking about is what it is that you're saying, as opposed in terms of why you're better and why they're not, your competition isn't as good. They're not going to be able to get past that conflict, and they're going to stop listening at that point. But when you think about how much better your solution is, you need to think about 10x and the whole idea of, if anybody is going to change their behavior, if you want to change a customer's behavior to do something new, to use your product as opposed to someone else's, it needs to be 10 times better than the status quo. So that is something that you need to think about and you need to identify before you even really start pitching. Even if you aren't today, you have to have some sort of idea and understand how you can do that so that you can become 10 times better through your roadmap.
And one thing that Tim and I always, we discuss this a lot, and it happens many times, is that people don't identify this idea, the problem, but they have a great solution. And so they have a great solution looking for a problem. And when that solution is not helping but a really tiny part of the population, is it really a problem? And so that's something to think about. Is what? Yes, you're probably a technician. You probably have this great solution. Is there really a problem that you're addressing that's big enough, as Tim has said, that people care about it?
Yep. All right. The next, as we get into the next piece, I want to backtrack really quick, because in addition to understanding the elements of the pitch, there's three things that you need in order to have a successful business. There's three things that you're going to need if you want to be able to get a meeting with an investor. You'd have to have a product. And so that's why the piece that we just finished is really important. The next piece of what is needed is your team. And your team is arguably the most important aspect. So when you are pitching, you want to talk about your team. And the things that to consider there is, you certainly want to use this time to showcase the strengths of your team. You should be putting a lot of time in making sure that you have the best people that you possibly can working with you so that you can create the best product that's possible. And if you don't have that, again, this is where you have to keep some of these things in your back pocket. So when you're in the close and you have to show people what you need in order to be successful, maybe finding a team member is something that you need, but certainly showcase your strengths. The example that I use all the time is, if you are in a drone, if you have a drone business and you're developing the world's best drone, and that's what your pitch is, and you fail to acknowledge the fact that you have the most decorated, experienced drone person in the history of the world on your team, then you have just completely done yourself a disservice by not sharing with the people that you're talking to that, yeah, the guy that can make this happen, yeah, he also works for us as well. I mean, it's so important, and that goes into the next piece in terms of why you are the person and why you are the team to solve this problem. This is just, you have to be able to prove and show and demonstrate that, yeah, we've identified the problem, this is the solution, and these are the people that are going to solve it. I mean, it's really that important. But it could be years of experience, it could be prior companies that they've worked for, it could be where you went to school. I mean, it's just, there's different ways to showcase this. How many consolidated years of experience that everybody has in total? Think about different things that you have to showcase your strengths. All right. So we talked about your product, we've talked about your team, and now we're going to talk about the marketability aspect of it. And some things to consider there is, first thing you want to do is you want to identify your customer. Extremely important, because you need to know who you're looking for, and the answer is not everybody. If you tell, as soon as you tell someone that everybody is your customer, then you've already failed the test. So you need to identify who that is, and in the greatest of detail. And the reason that you want to be able to do that is because you're now demonstrating your understanding of the size of the market. So you know the product, you know the solution, you have the team to do it, and now you know the people that you need to go out and reach out and touch and talk to in order to sell the product or service that you are pitching. And this may be very, very counterintuitive, but the smaller the focus, the better. As soon as you think that you have your audience identified, the next thing that you need to do is you need to try to shrink that focus even smaller. So an easy example to talk about is if you're a realtor and you're selling homes, you need to understand what square footage or what home value it is that you're looking for. Maybe that you just focus on 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, whatever the case is. If you can really narrow that down and know who your customers are, then you immediately just made your life much, much easier. You're not going to waste your time, and you're not going to waste that potential customer's time. Jesse, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Is there a way to find that out? Like, how do you find out who your best, most potential, customer is? And are there examples of that?
I mean, a lot of it's going to be going out and talking to people. But I mean, you certainly, what I would do is I would look at, there's a few things that come into play. You're going to have your hypothesis in terms of what you think is going to be true. And then when you go out and you talk to people, you're either going to prove or disprove that hypothesis as being correct or not. But the other aspect that's going to come into it as well is that you need to have an understanding of what your financial model is going to be. Because if you know that it's going to cost you $150 to manufacture this product or service, and then the people that you're talking to are only willing to pay up to $100, then you know that something is wonky. So you really have to understand what the unit economics are behind your business. You need to understand, you put together your hypothesis and either prove or disprove it. But then the other thing too is, I mean, there's nothing that's concrete about everything. That's called price elasticity. It's just constantly moving the price around to better determine, what is that sweet spot. I mean, that's one thing that Tesla gets. I mean, to this day, they've been around for 12 years, 13 years, and they're still moving their prices around from one way to the next, just to really dial everything in. And you'll see that happens more often than not. But that would be my suggestion.
There's an
Um,
example. There was an example I used last Pitch Perfect, Jesse, that um, I'll share again. I don't think anybody else was on that, but it was a people wanted to look for. They wanted to make the best pillow, and so they went and stood in the pillow section at bedding stores, and they would ask people why they were what they were looking for in a pillow and why they were choosing that one. And when they ultimately made the decision, why did you choose that one over this one? And they just asked lots, and they got lots and lots of data points by going, as Tim says, and talking to people. And you don't want to necessarily to go talk to people who will be nice to you. You don't want to talk to your friends and relatives who all think they love you and they don't want to be disappointing to you. So they're not going to tell you, they're not going to argue with you. They're not going to tell you things you don't want to hear. So when you go and ask people that have no connection to you, you get a much more honest answer generally.
100%.
So, yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Smaller the focus, the better. I mean, it is. That's super counterintuitive, but it's amazing how true that is. And then you want to make sure that in your pitch, you talk about how you're delighting your customers. I mean, and if you can have, so if you're talking about a story about Tommy or Sally, and then it turns out that, yeah, Tommy and Sally are actually customers of the product, and this is what they have to say, then that's really, really powerful in terms of including in your pitch how you're delighting customers. And you don't necessarily have to read the testimonial. That could be something that is part of your slides that people can just glance at really quickly and see that on their own, and you don't even have to waste any time with it. But you can just say, as you can see here, our customers are delighted with the product or the service that they're receiving. All right. One thing that I find really, really interesting, I hear a lot of really great ideas. I'm always amazed. That's why I love the space, the entrepreneurial space, as much as I do. But everything comes down to the execution, because if you can't execute on the idea, then you really don't have anything at all. So what are some things to consider when it comes down to execution? And what do I mean by execution is, how are you going to make this a reality? I mean, this is truly where the rubber meets the road. And this is showing how you're going to make this a reality. That is what investors are looking for. Investors want to invest in the people, and it's not necessarily the idea. I mean, like I said, I've heard so many great ideas, but I know not right away, but I can quickly determine, does this person have what it takes in order to make this thing successful? And again, that's why the team is so important when it comes to starting your business, because those investors, those customers, they need to have confidence in you that you are going to be what makes this thing a reality. And that, I mean, a product roadmap is a product roadmap for a reason. That's a continuous improvement process, but you have to execute on that idea. With that, you really need to understand your why. It is a roller coaster ride if you haven't figured that out yet. Your highs are going to be super high. Your lows are going to be super low. That's why I always recommend somebody has a co-founder. Another great reason to have a team. You need to have that second engine in case your engine starts to sputter out and you just need to make some corrections or whatever the case is that you might need. But at the end of the day, you really need to understand your why, because that's what's going to get you out of bed in the morning. That's what's going to keep pushing you to solve that problem. It comes down to that. And your why cannot be because I have a great opportunity to make a lot of money, because I guarantee the first time that you encounter a challenge, you're going to change your mind, and then you're going to focus on the next opportunity that could make you a lot of money. So you really have to have a real deep personal understanding of what that why is going to be. Gary and I typically talk about someone who pitched, they've raised a lot of money at Start Peninsula. And it's a mobile app for parents of autistic children. So what do you do when you're with your child and they just have a breakdown and a meltdown, and they developed an app so that you can go and find out what solutions and ways to mitigate what is happening. And the founder, he started the company because he is the father of an autistic child, and so he had a real deep understanding of what his why was. That's why he was doing it. So really look within to find out what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, just to put it in layman's terms, it's what's the passion that drives you to do this is the why. I think Angel has a question.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. So my question really, the business I started in the model that I have incorporates a nonprofit organization that helps disadvantaged communities basically bridge to create a career with little to no education. So that is really the why behind, it's a part of the business. Would that be something to market in a pitch to investors? And the reason I'm asking is because our hiring practices are going to be a little different, and maybe even more costly. So should I explain that? Is that something that seems viable to an investor?
I know a lot of investors that are really, they are really moved and motivated by people that are trying to better other people's lives. So, if you're in the business where you're trying to help other people with opportunity that they may not otherwise have had the opportunity to do so, and that is something that you're deeply passionate about doing, is helping other people be more successful. I think that's great. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Would it be something to add into the pitch as a part of the execution portion, or identifying the customer? Because from like a nonprofit model, the customer can be several different people. So I'm thinking from a for-profit model, where I'm sharing this with investors, should I be sharing that as a part of the execution or as a part of the the marketability?
Yeah, I think that, so this is where I love where your mind is and your wheels are already turning, and you can quickly see how much information you need to pack into a 3-minute pitch. And so you really got to truly understand what is going to make the most impact. So that's something that we would have to, you're to the point now where we have the pieces of the puzzle. Now we have to put it all together and figure out what has the most impact, what adds to your pitch, what takes away from your pitch, and then make sure that we build something that is really, really strong. So I think that you're in the right mindset of where you need to be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the investability aspect of your business. And this is really more of a gee whiz type stuff. This is not necessarily something. This is not, you're not going to be judged on this per se, but it's really it's important for you as you go down your entrepreneurial journey to figure out what your next steps are. Is an investment necessary? A lot of times you can bootstrap. A lot of times there's other ways that you can do this. Really what it's like when you raise money on the venture side. It's like you approach a treadmill. You get on the treadmill, you put the speed at 10, and then you start running, and you're not able to get off that treadmill until you either sell your business IPOs on the stock market, or you run out of business. No pun intended there. But raising money is not necessarily for everyone, and that's okay. And if you want to have a lifestyle business, that's okay. You can be really, really successful with a lifestyle business. And I don't know how it started, but long ago, there has been a negative connotation with lifestyle businesses, and that couldn't be further from the truth. There is nothing wrong with having a lifestyle business, and there's a lot of people that live a really great and comfortable life with a lifestyle business. So that's just something you have to ask yourself. Do you need an investment? I mean, like with me, I'm super blessed. I have a great life. And, and that's just, I chose not to scale my business in that way. That was just something I didn't need. I know other people that, they have over $1 million of revenue a year, and they're not scaling their business to be any larger either. That's just something that you have to ask yourself, and what your why is. So do you need that investment? And then what is the money going to be used for? That's a popular question when it comes to VCs or the judges is, okay, what do you need the money for? And if you feel like you're running a little light on information within your pitch, then that could be something that you can throw in there. Certainly something that you would include on your 5-minute pitch. But that was just a quick aside in terms of the investability aspect. Next thing we're going to touch on is your basic needs and the things to consider there. So many things that I love about the entrepreneurial journey. Another one is the willingness for people to help. But the thing is that if you don't share your needs with people, they don't know how to help you. And so this is the vulnerable side that we were talking about during the open. So don't be afraid, don't be shy to tell people what it is that you need and how they can help, because you'll have a line of people that will be willing to do that, to help you out in any way. And this is where you need to look at vulnerability as a strength. There's so many people, so many founders out there that they just want to be the alpha person, that they don't need any help, and that they're going down the wrong path. That is like the complete opposite of what you need to do, because the first thing, if you're looking for an investor, this is a marriage, and you have to work together for as long as their name is on the cap table. And you need to be coachable. So they're looking to see, is this a right fit for me? You should be looking, is this also a right fit for me? But you have to be coachable. You have to be vulnerable. You need to make sure that you're comfortable with the skin that you live within, and really leverage that as a strength, as opposed to a weakness. And the tricks of the trade. I will hand this off to Gary and take it away.
Yeah. So the old joke is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the joke is practice, 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 and you can go play your violin there. And the same thing is true here, that there was a study done, a university study done about the impact of a presentation. There are 3 main aspects they looked at. One was body language, one was volume and vocal inflection, and the final one was the vocabulary that was used. And they found that 55% of the impact was result of the body language, and 38% of the impact was a result of the volume and vocal inflection, and only 7% was impacted by the vocabulary. So what most people do, and in this case, you're going to want to make sure the vocabulary is right, because you only have 3 minutes, but also you want to most people spend 95% of their time working on something that only produces about 7% of the impact. And again, these folks don't know how hard you worked. They don't really care. They just have 3 minutes to listen to you and then 2 minutes to ask questions. And so you've got to impact them right away. And the best way to do that is with the other 97%. And make sure that you know what you look like, you know what you sound like, you know how to give your vocabulary the punch and the drive that it needs for you to be understood by the judges, and perhaps someone in the audience who's interested in helping you as well. We don't know. So practicing is really, really important. And that practicing also means that you want to be sure that you video yourself. You want to be able to look at yourself doing these things. As on the slide here, as Tim mentioned it earlier, don't start with your name. We don't really care. And a lot of people want to get up and just start with their name. The second thing you don't want to do is start with a question, because that's wasting time too. The best thing is a statistic of some kind, a really quick, perhaps a quote that comes from someplace that has to do with this, but questions and your name not helpful. You're already going to be introduced anyway, and the judges have your name on a sheet. They know what your name is, they know what your company name is. So I would say what your name was, but only briefly in passing and not at the beginning.
Right. And now with everything on Zoom, we have a virtual background with your name on it as well.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. When you go over your story a bunch of times and you video record yourself and you watch it, that's the scariest part. Is the video recording part isn't the scary part. It's the going back and watching it part that's hard. And when you do that enough times, you'll start asking yourself, why am I saying that? It doesn't add to my story. And you keep coming in at 3.5 minutes and you go, I got to lose 30 seconds somewhere. And then you go back and listen a bunch and you realize this thing is not relevant to my story. It is not helping. I'm going to cut it. We never want, the hardest thing when you're creating these things is we call all the great ideas that you have and the words you put together, that's your baby. And nobody wants to kill their little darlings because they want them to be on the page and they want them to be in the performance, and they can't be, because if they're irrelevant, they don't help, and you're fighting a battle with time. So if anything that isn't relevant, get rid of it. We keep talking about stories and that it's a story and a performance. I don't even refer to these things as presentations anymore. It's always a performance. And that means it needs to be an authentic performance, not one that's you being somebody else, but you being authentic in the performance will have a huge impact in the people that are watching. And that's where your why comes through, because they not only hear what your why is, they can see your why. They can see that you're driven to do this and that you really, really want to you build this new thing, whatever it is, solve this problem, because you know that it will help people. So this goes back to what we talked about just a few minutes ago, that as you listen to this thing, for every slide or every line, whatever you do, you have to ask yourself, is it helping or is it detracting? And if it's not helping, get rid of it. And a fun thing I like to do is with some of my clients is I'll say, they'll come to me when they have a 10 slide deck. And I'll ask them how long their thing is. And then this deck is jammed full of stuff. And they really need 50 slides to explain as much as they want to explain, but they think they've got to stick 50 slides worth of stuff in 10 slides. And then the slides are illegible. And so I always ask them, I go, okay, I heard it once. Now I need you to cut it to 5 slides. And which 5 do you not need? And they're, oh, we need all of them. No, which 5 do you not need? And they get it down to 5. And I go, okay, you can only have 3. So which are your favorite 3? And they get real clear about what they really don't need. The same thing has to happen for any line that you add, because it's taking time. So does it enhance the story? Does it detract from the story? Is it helping? Is it over explaining? What is it doing? And if you don't need it, get rid of it. So that all comes from really planning. And as you plan to prepare for this thing, I would say start from the day of the pitch and go backwards and say, how much time do I need each day to work on these things? I want to give myself, especially in the last week, I want to rehearse for an hour each day. and then go back from there and say, what do I need to do to be able to get where I can rehearse for an hour each day? The week before that, I have to do more trimming. And the week before that, I have to really get my ideas down, and I got to build my deck. And I've got to, if I want some help from Gary and Tim, I'm going to need to plan some time with my normal work that and whatever Gary and Tim's time is, that I can try to find some time in their schedule to show them my stuff. So all of that means plan your schedule out. This should not be a night before thing if you really are serious about making it happen. And we can tell if it's a night before thing.
100%. And one thing to add to that, Gary, when Gary's referencing that hour of practice, that should be anybody and everyone that you see. Even if it's grabbing someone off of the street, say, hey, do you have 3 minutes? I want to tell you about something. And just practicing with every single person that you see. And then listen to what they have to say. And I want you to write down every single question that they ask. And then when you start lining up all these questions, and then you can quickly determine everybody's asking the same question. Well, now you know that there's a hole in your pitch, and you need to address that in your pitch so that the question isn't asked, especially if somebody, and we were alluding to this earlier, especially if there's an objection to what it is that you're saying. You need to make sure that you cut that off at the pass before the question is asked, before someone starts thinking about it. That's what you need to do when you're practicing as well. Another interesting thing that I highly recommend is when you're practicing, as Gary said, video record yourself, listen to yourself, play it, and have it use a dictation on your phone, and then highlight all of the filler words that you use. And you'll be amazed at all of the ums and uhs and all the other filler phrases. That's all really, really valuable time that you could be using. But when you actually have that on paper and it's highlighted and you can see it standing out right in front of you, then it's just like, whoa, that's stuff that I need to tighten up.
Yeah, one more piece to this is when you create this explanation, which is what these 3 minutes are, with these points that Tim's talked about. I used to work in IT before this job that I have now for about almost 20 years. And my mother never understood what I did. And I would come home and explain to her in programmer speak what I was doing for my job, and she didn't understand it. So I had to learn for it to pass the mom test. Would my mother understand what I do? And so you can do the same thing with this pitch. Am I explaining it at a level where people can really understand it who aren't in my business sphere? Will they really, really understand it? Possibly they won't at first, and that means you've got to make it so it is understandable. So really passing the mom test is really, really important if you want them to really listen to it and understand it. And remember that everybody has a remote control in their brain about what it is. It's kind of like the one you have with the TV. And when you're watching TV and you don't like the show, or it's too fast or it's too slow, you change the channel. They won't change the channel on you because they can't turn you off, but they will turn their brain off to listening to you. And this whole thing, is it too fast? Is it too slow? Is it too hard? Is it too easy? I call it the Goldilocks effect. It's got to be just right. And if you spend the time practicing and really listening to yourself and reviewing, then you're going to have a better shot at making sure the audience understands what you're talking about.
Yep. And there's our contact information, how to get in touch with Gary and I. That's how you can connect with Start Peninsula. And that wraps up the first portion. We can open of Pitch Perfect. Open this up to any questions that anyone has. can address those. And then if anybody wants to be the brave one or two or three to practice their pitch, like I said, we're not holding anybody to 3 minutes. We're not cutting anyone off. We're just going to let you go. And then if you want feedback, we'll provide feedback. If you want brutally honest feedback, then we'll give you brutally honest feedback. If you want us to be nice, we'll be nice. But the rest of the time is yours to ask or practice.
I want brutally honest feedback.
I did too. I would like to hear your feedback too.
Let me get my brutally honest feedback voice and face on so that we'll be all ready.
Okay.
We're not, since you want brutally honest, we're going to be not smiling. We're just going to do this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to turn our videos off so you can't see us. That'll be even better.
All right. Let me just pull up my notes. This isn't part of my presentation. This isn't where it's one of those. So let me share my screen. Let me see.
I may have to make you a co-host. And I'm going to stop sharing mine.
Okay.